All right. Thank you for joining us. Over the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to talk about the election results and the four biggest ocean fights for the next 4 years and how you, as ocean supporters, can get involved. I'm Emily Cimarella Roberts. I'm the Director of Digital Engagement and Advocacy here at Ocean Conservancy. I'm joined by my colleague, Jeff Waters. So, Jeff, over to you to introduce yourself.
Great. Thank you, Emily. I'm Jeff Waters. I'm the VP of External Affairs here at Ocean Conservancy. And we're going to talk about the election results and what it all means for the ocean. So people may feel nervous, some folks may feel nervous about the potential incoming administration's impact on the ocean, on our climate, and on our planet as a whole. So we're going to talk about what we see moving forward, what you can do about it, and what we're going to do as a community. Before we really dive into that, though, I want to start by talking a little bit about politics. We're going to level set for a minute because Ocean Conservancy is a 501c3 nonprofit. That means that we don't engage in partisan politics at all. We're a nonpartisan organization. We don't engage in elections or campaigns. And frankly, we will work with anyone and everyone, regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, if what you care about is a healthy ocean. So we don't get involved in politics, but the moment someone is doing governing or elected officials or policy folks are taking action that affects the ocean, that is when we get involved. That's when we ask you to get involved, and that's when we start to work together. So just a level set on that, because politics isn't our business, even though what we're going to be talking about is what the incoming administration might or might not do and how it relates to the ocean.
Great. Thank you for setting the stage, Jeff. I think that's really important. Speaking of OC's track record, we have been protecting our ocean for more than 50 years, 52, in fact, that spans 26 Congresses and 10 presidents of the United States. So we are not stopping now. When it comes to President-elect Trump, it is worth noting that he has repeatedly said he supports clean air and clean water. So let's start off with, what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, he has said that. Absolutely. And if he means that, and the extent to which he follows through on that promise, we're in agreement, right? We're for clean air and clean water, the extent to which that affects the ocean and helps ocean health. But our job as an advocacy organization is to hold him to that promise. At the same time, though, there are some worrying signs about the incoming administration's plans, what they are thinking about doing, and whether or not they're actually going to follow through with the specifics in that broad general promise for clean air and clean water. So when it comes to those specifics, that's where we're seeing some warning signs. We're getting nervous, and we basically want to preview for you all the four big areas where we think that we're going to have some disagreements with the incoming administration and where we need to basically pull together and fight on behalf of the ocean.
So as Jeff mentioned, here at Ocean Conservancy, we really see four big ocean fights looming over the next 4 years. So they are fighting for a clean ocean energy future, safeguarding wildlife and fish, standing up for science and defending the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and saving special ocean places. So Jeff, can you walk us through what our plans are to combat these looming threats?
Yeah, and I want to start out by saying that these four fights, these four areas of potential disagreement with the incoming administration, these are hugely consequential issues for the ocean, right? The future of ocean health is being decided now. It's going to be decided over the next few years. And where things ultimately land is going to matter a lot on what happens for ocean ecosystems, ocean wildlife, and the ocean environment overall. So let's start by talking about the first one that you mentioned, Emily, clean ocean energy, because that's an area where the incoming administration's agenda is pretty clear. The incoming administration has talked a lot about how they want to drill pretty much everywhere. They want to pursue a lot more offshore oil and gas drilling, and they frankly want to put a lot of barriers to slow down or stop the deployment of clean energy and things that we support that are important for the climate. So this is an area where the incoming administration has said very clear things about what they want to do, and it's giving us a lot of pause.
And can you share with our audiences a bit more about our work and our goals when it comes to clean ocean energy?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really is very, very simple. It boils down to the fact that we want to see 100% clean ocean energy by 2050. So basically, when you talk about energy out in the ocean, you can talk about either offshore oil and gas drilling, or you can talk about offshore clean energy and renewable energy. So for obvious reasons, we don't think that pursuing more offshore oil and gas drilling is a smart way to go. It's bad for the climate. It's bad for carbon emissions and the climate and the planet overall. And it poses enormous risks for the ocean and the marine environment in terms of pollution, in terms of oil spills. It's just not the way the future should play out for the health of the ocean. In contrast, if you look at offshore oil, offshore renewable energy and clean energy, there are all sorts of benefits. You talk about ramping down carbon emissions. You talk about pursuing an energy future that is better for carbon emissions, better for the climate, and better for the planet overall. Because it's easy to forget, but the ocean is enormously impacted by climate change. That's something that we can't ignore. And of course, if you're pursuing offshore renewable energy, you don't have the pollution risk. So basically, our view and our vision is a clean ocean energy future where we phase out offshore oil and gas and fossil fuel production that happens in the ocean and phase in the good stuff, phase in the offshore renewable energy. So this is an area where we're pretty much in disagreement with many of the things that the incoming administration has said. And so it's an area that we're going to need to advocate a lot if we want the future that we envision.
Great. So let's pivot to protecting fish and wildlife. What are some threats coming from the incoming administration's proposed agenda?
So I'm going to start by talking about fish, because I love fish. I love to eat fish. I love to watch fish. I love to scuba dive with fish. So I'm going to get on my high horse and talk about fish for a little bit, because fish are so important. It is one of those things that really is a part of our everyday lives. It's nutritious food. It's we rely on healthy, sustainable fish in the grocery stores, in our restaurants. People fish recreationally. It's a part of our lives in terms of recreation. And there are a lot of communities out there that depend on fish and fisheries and fishing for subsistence. It is how they eat. It's how they get resources in order to live and sustain their culture and sustain their families. So I cannot overstate, before we talk about dolphins and whales and all of the cute mammals and things of that nature, I have to talk about fish a little bit. And our goal for fish is 100% sustainably managed federal U.S. fisheries in the U.S. that are all prepared for climate change. That is our goal. That's our vision. And there are a lot of things that we worry about with the incoming administration as to whether or not they share that goal and whether or not they're going to uphold the laws that we have on the books today to try to achieve that and achieve sustainable fisheries. When it comes to other wildlife, so let's talk about the whales and the dolphins and the sea otters and the seals and all the other cute stuff. Sea turtles, for sure. We cannot forget the sea turtles. So we have a whole bunch of laws on the books, like the Endangered Species Act, like the Marine Mammal Protection Act, like the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, that are really the foundation for protecting and sustaining all of our ocean wildlife. Decades ago, a lot of our ocean wildlife was in huge trouble. Some of our ocean wildlife is still in huge trouble and needs even more protection than we already have on the books. But protecting our ocean wildlife means protecting the laws that provide that protection. So that's another big area where we want to make sure that the laws remain in place and that they are implemented and enforced. So that's another really big key area that we're going to have to focus on with the incoming administration, and whether or not we see eye to eye on that point. And if we don't, we're going to have a conversation about it.
And our work at Ocean Conservancy obviously revolves around evidence and science, and NOAA is a major player when it comes to informing the general public about everything from monitoring and predicting weather, tracking storms, tracking our climate, keeping a watch over our ocean, so much more. NOAA's unbiased science provides everyone across this country with facts every day, no matter where you live. So can you say a little bit more about NOAA?
So you're really hitting on a sweet spot with me. So I have a master's degree in limnology and marine science. I'd be curious if anyone knows what limnology is. If you do, put it in the chat. We'll test your knowledge here. But as someone who was brought up kind of academically through kind of the science realm, you're speaking my heart here. NOAA is incredibly important. NOAA is the messenger, right? NOAA is designed to be an agency that provides the neutral, common sense facts based on data that we need to hear and need to know, whether that's for fisheries management, whether that is for our daily weather forecasts that we get, all of us get day in and day out, or whether it's for things like understanding what's going on with climate change or the plastic pollution crisis globally. We depend on NOAA to be that neutral, non-political messenger to deliver us the information that we need to understand the challenges that we face as a nation and as a globe. Sometimes they tell us those facts, whether it's convenient or not, whether it's easy to hear or not. But if we don't have a strong NOAA, then we are operating in our climate and our ocean with blinders on. We can't afford to do that, especially not right now when we're facing so many crises. So there are a lot of proposals out there from folks in the incoming administration who potentially want to take some pretty drastic actions to weaken NOAA or to even potentially dismantle NOAA. And we cannot afford that. That's not something, if we care about ocean health, if we care about the future of our climate and our planet, the last thing we need to be doing is cutting off the neutral science and data and information that informs what we do and the challenges that we face.
Thanks, Jeff. And the final ocean fight we've outlined is around saving special ocean places. So can you share what some of these places are and why they're vulnerable and need protection?
Yeah. So if anyone has been to any of our big national parks, think Yellowstone National Park or Yosemite, if you think those places are amazing, I wish you could see what lies under the surface of the ocean. Because some of our most spectacular natural places on the planet and in our country lie underwater. They are in the ocean. Some of those areas have been protected. We have national marine sanctuaries, we have national marine monuments, and we have all sorts of layers of protection to do things like protecting particularly sensitive areas from offshore oil and gas drilling to make sure that we don't drill in really, sensitive places where we can't afford to have an oil spill. A lot of those protections are potentially at risk under the incoming administration. We don't know exactly what their plans are, but we certainly have a record to go on because during the first term of the incoming administration, they tried to roll back a number of these protections. A great example is we have worked extensively in the Arctic Ocean as well as in the Northern Bering Sea to try to collaborate and work and support Alaska Native communities who want protections in these areas. So we have some protected areas, we have protections against offshore oil and gas drilling in these special places, and this is something that is critically important to maintain. If we undo those protections, we are placing some of those incredibly spectacular natural places at risk, places where some of the most incredible wildlife migrations in the world happen through the Bering Strait, in the Northern Bering Sea, and in the Arctic Ocean. These are not places where we can afford to get things wrong. So we've got to maintain those protections. And again, this is something where the signs for the incoming administration are a bit worrisome, and we're going to need to fight to keep those protections in place.
Thanks, Jeff. And for everyone watching, we are sounding the alarm, but we can win these fights together. Winning takes action and it takes advocacy. And the outcomes of these 4 fights don't just depend on who's in the White House. It depends on Congress, the makeup of state legislatures, governors, and it depends on all of us, truly. We are the constituents, and elected officials depend on us to tell them how we're feeling about these 4 big ocean fights and how they're going to impact our communities and our planet.
Yeah, so I can't emphasize that enough. Like, you have an incoming administration, they're going to have a lot of power and authority to do a lot of things, but they're not going to have unlimited power. A lot depends on what happens in other parts of government. It depends on other elected officials, and all of our voices matter. So a lot of folks are sitting there thinking, like, okay, what does the election mean for the ocean, and what can I do about it? What can you do about it? So we are here to help you figure that out. At Ocean Conservancy, we have one of the most amazing teams of ocean conservation, science, policy, and legal experts in the world, and we're going to help you figure out how to weigh in on these issues. So we've come up with an initial list. This is just a starter list, but we've come up with an initial list of 6 ways that you can get started to help weigh in. We're going to drop that list in the chat pretty shortly. But right now, the most immediate thing, if you want right now, you can go to oceanconservancy.org/action. It takes like 2 minutes to sign up. If you want to be part of our system for emailing members of Congress, for emailing and weighing in with elected officials, join that list. Go to that link. Again, I'll say it again, oceanconservancy.org/action, and go sign up if you want to be part of this fight or any of these fights. The other thing that you can do is you can take your phone right now and you can text OCEAN to the number 52551. I'll say that again. You can text the word OCEAN to 52551. This is basically our first alert messaging system, where if you want to know the latest news, if you want to know how you can get involved, if you want to know the latest way that you can help make a difference in any of these issues, and occasionally get some ocean trivia, that's kind of fun, text OCEAN to 52551, and you can be a part of these fights. And together we can do it, right? It's not something that any one organization or any one person can do, but if we gather together as a community and stand up for the things that we believe in, we really can make a difference. So thank you.
These are really great ways to get involved. So for everyone watching, we hope you'll share them with your family and your friends, your local networks. And as a reminder, as Jeff said, we will drop these 6 ways, he outlined 2, that you can get involved with Ocean Conservancy. And with that, thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation. We are proud to have you on our side, and we really believe that together we will win the fight for our ocean. So thank you again, and take care, everyone.